Good afternoon and welcome to Scrapbooking with a Twist. We are going to make an embellishment this afternoon. I made this one for a swap that I was in, and I just thought it turned out really cute. I'm going to show you what I used, everything that I used on it. And you don't have to use all of this. I'm going to show you an alternative. This is just a piece of paper that I had. It was a 12 by 12 piece, just thin piece of scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. And it's got the little pebbles. I don't know if you can see, but it's just like the little river bottom pebbles. And so I used some of that, but it's not really a must. This is just a paper bag, like a little lunch bag, one of those flimsy little lunch bags like you put your kids' school lunch in. I used this die cut set, and I only used the backpack, the shoe, and the cup. That's all I used out of that die cut set. And I got those just on Amazon. Just search camping or hiking, I think maybe die cuts. And then the rest of the things I'm going to use, I'm going to show you. I cut, I think this is a 2-inch square, and then this is the scalloped 2.5 inch probably that I'm going to put around that. These, I just cut 2 of the shoes from that die cut, the backpack and the little cup. I cut just a tag. This is I think a 1.5 inch tag. I've got some foam tape. This is a punch. I love this punch. This is an EK. It's old. Even the thing that holds it down is broken off of it. It's so old. But it's an EK Tools punch. But anything, you could just use anything. You could use leaves or anything for what I'm doing today. And I punched a couple of those. I cut, these are to resemble rocks. I just cut odd shapes. So we'll see. I'm going to probably use most of that in mine today. But this is what we're going to come up with. Just this little multi-layered hiking, camping, nature type embellishment. And then I'm going to take these embellishments in maybe my next video, and I'm going to use some of them. So I'm just going to set that up there as we get started. So I just cut a piece of green, and this also is about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. And I'm just going to tear that just to get us started. This is just going to be kind of our starting base. Just tear that out. And if we get it too long, we can always tear it down. But I'm going to just tear it down about right there. And let's see, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's about not quite 5 inches. Like I said, there's no right or wrong of what that would be. I'm going to start by, I'm using, this is walnut stain. You could use vintage photo, whatever. This little paper also is just Hobby Lobby Paper Studio. It's got all of these little trees on it. I've used so many sheets of that. And then this is just, this one's actually textured, but it wouldn't need to be. All of this is just from my scraps that I'm using on this today. So we're going to ink this in the brown ink. As usual, while I'm inking, because I am going to ink most of this stuff, let me go ahead and do the twist. I have a fly buzzing around here that is driving me crazy. Why? I didn't stop and try to do something about him before I started. I'm not sure. But while I'm doing this, let me do the twist real quick. The twist today comes from Psalms 19:1, and it says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky proclaims the work of his hands." What that psalm is saying is that even the heavens praise and worship God. So I have a little thing written out here. I don't want to leave anything out of this today. That pretty much just tells us that the heavens worship and praise God, the true God, the God of creation, the only God. And there's a popular Christian song that as I was reading that, well, actually, I was listening to the song and then found scripture to go with it because I love the song. And the name of the song is So Will I. And so I'm going to just encourage you to YouTube that song. If you just go into YouTube and you put song, So Will I, it's by Hillsong, but if you just put song, So Will I in there, you'll find it. It will bring it up. And I'm going to just give you a few words of that song. It says, if the stars were made to worship, so will I. If creation sings your praises, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the ocean roars your greatness, so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. I love that song. You know, some days you just think that maybe life just isn't all it's supposed to be, or you think they're just bound to be a little more than this. I encourage you to turn to Psalms, and there are several that talk about just worshiping God and being in his presence, and that's where joy and hope and satisfaction are found. But listen to this song. It says you can speak 100,000 galaxies into being, and if they were made to worship you, so will I. That is our twist for today. I just love this little backpack. I'm going to go ahead and ink it up. And then I'm also going to trace the lines that are on it so that you really get to see the kind of the intricacy of this little backpack. This is kind of I know it's kind of the time-consuming part, but inking to me is very important. I ink nearly everything. And I think it just gives it that finished look and that, I don't know, just more, I don't want to say professional because that's not what we're doing here, but just I guess, a more finished and perfected look. And it can hide a lot of sins. Like if you're fussy cutting something and I'm not the greatest, that flies bugging me. I'm not the greatest fussy cutter in the world. And yet you can just really camouflage a lot of mistakes with a little bit of inking. I thought when I did this, ordered this little die cut set, that it would be perfect because both sets of my kids, my son and daughter-in-law, their boys, and my daughter and son-in-law and their boys, they usually go to Colorado every summer. They both just got back, as a matter of fact. And I thought that it would just be perfect to do those Colorado trips for them. So that was, I've already inked that one. So that was one reason why I ordered it. And I have already used it a good bit and do thoroughly enjoy this one. The only thing I wish is that when you ordered things like that on Amazon, that it had who the maker was, and it doesn't say on any of them. I hope they're not, stolen from someone or anything like that, but I do absolutely love this little die set. And it has other things other than what I used. It has there's our fly friend again. It has the compass and it has the water jug. But I didn't choose to use those on this particular layout. I'm almost finished with what I'm going to do here. I just wanted to have these ready. I may not use them all, but I wanted to have them ready to use as we start building this little cluster. And like I said, this little thing with the little rocks are not even really necessary. I don't need any more than that. I know I don't. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do to put this together is I'm going to assemble the little square part, because that goes onto that green strip, and that becomes our base for all of this. I'm not the greatest cluster builder, and I will be the very first one to admit that. But the one thing that I've learned about clusters is that you have to have a good base. And if you get yourself a good base, then you have a chance of being able to build a better cluster. See how I like the unevenness of the torn paper? And then I did ink it a little just to kind of accentuate that. So we're going to, I gotta make sure I get my trees going the right direction. I don't want my trees upside down. That would be about like me to do that. Okay, so now we have our square put on our strip. And this is our base now. That is the base for our cluster. Now then, I've got a little bit of tracing that I need to do. This little backpack, I don't know if you can see, but it has a lot of little cuts in it. Well, it would be basically impossible to ink all of those. So I'm just going to trace them with a brown pen so that, and it's pretty easy to trace because you just get your little pen in the groove and it pretty much stays there. But I want to bring attention to all of those lines that are cut in this. I'm probably getting my head in the video to try to see where all these lines are. But I just want to get all the little straps and all of that outlined so that you can really tell that this is a backpack. This is all kind of in natural colors, and so it's easy to kind of get lost in there with all the browns and greens. And you could do these in any colors, but I have boys galore, so that I decided to do it in the browns. So that's got that one done. And then, oh, where's my other boot? Oh, there it is. I think I'm going to do the boot actually in black. I'm going to do the laces on the boot in black, just because, in the outline, just because the boot is dark itself. And the brown, I did a previous one in the brown, and it just really didn't show up that much. So I think this one we're going to do in the black. We'll see how we like that. And it has all these little, these are like brogan boots, and it's got all these little lines. And I just want to kind of accentuate them so that they will show up. It's kind of hard for me to see them actually. I can see where that one goes. Okay, I think that's good. We got one more boot here to do. Kind of this light and not being able to get close, it's kind of hard to see. I just thought these boots were so cute. Get those little lines done, and then we'll be finished. I did them on my other one a little neater, but anyway, you get the idea. So we've got everything inked and everything done. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put all these little parts to our cluster aside. The next thing I'm going to do is use our paper. If you saw me do a little dirt, that layout, you'll know that I have a tendency to use things like paper and things like that quite a bit. We're just going to tear this little piece of that bag. You could use any paper, but the paper bag, I don't think a plastic bag would work very good. The paper bag is just softer, and so you can work with it better than you could like just a sheet of, you could use, you know, cardstock for that matter, but the little paper bag is just softer, and so it's a little easier to use than the other would be. And so I want to actually put a little bit of ink on it. Let me pull this over so I don't get it on my little paper that I'm using. This mat will clean up. I don't want to mess up that paper. But just so that it kind of gets a little bit of the lines from where you crumpled it up. It just helps give it a little character. Now, if you don't want to get into just really, like I'm going to put some stones in there, I think this would be just as cute to just crumple this up and then put your glue down and then just dab it on here. I think that would be, and you want to leave it where you can see some of the green. Actually, I'm just going to do it that way to show you, because this would be much easier. And then I'll show you the other one and what I did a little bit differently. So we're just going to put it down crumpled, basically, is what we're going to do. So I put some good liquid glue across there. I'm just going to kind of roll this under so it doesn't have too many raw edges, and just start putting it down. So we're going to cover a lot of it up anyway. Okay, let's get the rest of that down and see where we are. Don't be afraid to try this kind of stuff. It's just, and I think it adds to, and then just mash it down. Just mash it down. Now, what I did is I went back and I put in, I actually worked in, you know, I might tear this and just work in a little bit of rock here and put a little piece of foam tape under it, you know, so that, let me just do one. I'm going to put a little piece of foam tape, and then I'm going to kind of tuck it in under where this was. Yeah. Get that off of there, and then just glue the other end down in under where all of this was. And it'll kind of come up over it, and then maybe a smaller one down here, maybe flat even, and then we can trim it off if it, because I didn't, you could leave it uneven, it wouldn't matter, but I wanted mine straight across the bottom. And then maybe one over here that is a little more on top even. Like I said, I think it looks perfectly fine without the stones. But if you wanted to try it, then this is kind of how I went about doing mine. Let's just leave it at that. So now it's got a little bit of the stone worked in with the ground and then the green. All right, so now it's time for us to start building our actual little scene on here. Now I want to kind of get a little more inking on the inside of this. I want my backpack, I want that strap to kind of be off the edge, just so that it's kind of interesting looking. We're going to put the top part of this backpack up on foam. And then glue the bottom part of it. And I definitely recommend liquid glue where you're gluing to this kind of thing, because our tape runners just are not reliable enough for that. So I'm going to stick that backpack right there. And then we've got to put our shoes on here. Now I'm going to put one kind of straight, and then I'll slant the other one. So one's going to be glued to all of this, and then I'm going to put a piece of foam tape under the top of it to hold the top part up. Just be pretty generous with that glue at this point. So I'm going to put this one up a little higher because we're going to kind of slant the other one, kind of casually put that other one like so, about like that maybe. Okay, so we need a little bit of foam tape to hold it there. And then we're going to put some glue on it to hold the rest of it. So if we want it like, oops, that, probably put some glue right back here on the heel. Something kind of like that. Okay, so we still have our little cup that we need to fit in there. So we're going to put our little cup somewhere right down there. I'm just going to glue that to the backpack, I think. Okay, our cup is on. Now we're going to put a little bit of, I just used the this twine on my tag so that it keeps with that kind of rustic look. And then I'm just going to slide this tag like right in there, just to kind of keep building on that cluster. Press that down. And then to finish it off, we're going to use these little limbs. And this one I'm going to cut, actually like right about there, and use part of it over here and part of it up here. This big one I'm going to put here on top of the tag, something like that. And I like it where it kind of comes over the top of this green part down here and maybe off the edge, just to keep it from looking, you know, blocky, and I just like the way it looks better. And then I'm going to stick one right back in under here, coming out from behind all of that. And then I'll finish it off with one coming out from like behind the backpack and down over that little rock. Okay, so there we have it. I think it's a cute little embellishment cluster that we could use on a hiking or just sightseeing in the mountains or fishing. I mean, you could use this on just about any outdoor layout that you would do. So let me see if I can get you some close-ups on this without all the glare. See if I can get the light a little better, where my lighting for close-ups is really tough. So there we go. A little inexpensive die cut set from Amazon, some scraps, a punch for the little branches, a piece of a paper bag, and that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, I would love for you to become a subscriber. And so I just say, have a happy Sunday. This is Sunday when I'm recording this. And God bless, and thanks for stopping by.